Hey guys, Matt Price here. Just wanted to do a real quick review on the new Rancho MyRIDE system I just installed today. Overall, it was a fairly simple install, fairly straightforward. Basically, you've got 4 new fittings, and forgive me for all the motion, but I'm going to try to show you guys what I'm talking about. You've got 4 fittings that replace the adjustable shocks. If you can see that right there with the vacuum line coming out of it. You can see I've left plenty of excess vacuum hose, so when the axles are under full flex on your off-road, sway bars are disconnected, you're not gonna pinch the line or break it or have it pull out on you. So everything is zip tied up with plenty of room for flex, and really all you do is just run the vacuum lines in a nice safe location away from all the heat, and you connect them up to your control module, which if you know anything about the Wranglers, your underhood real estate is very limited. So basically what I've done is just set the thing right there. It's not mounted in any way, just hanging out, it's not shaking around, pretty secure. And that's where the vacuum lines connect. Now you can also see it's connected to the battery, positive, negative. And then on the other side is where I decided to actually mount the compressor. So basically what I did, if you can see, I drilled one hole right there in this little, it's a piece of plastic, basically hiding part of the computer, I believe, and you've got a couple other things mounted to it. But if you drill a hole right there, the Rancho system comes with some self-tapping screws, and I literally just put one right there just to keep it secure. And this is basically the compressor that just has a single feed line that goes over to that control module, and then of course it's powered as well. So I've ran all the wires as best I could, zip tied everything up, of course, out of the way. So pretty cool, system. If you look at the actual control module, it's nice backlit. And if we go, so right now it's on the MyRIDE setting, which again, I'm just playing around with this. So I literally have the shocks completely deflated. Everything's on a 1-to-1. Now what's nice is it comes with some presets. So you've got highway, and you can tell it'll do 6 on the front, 3 on the rear to basically, balance out any road vibrations. If you go down to sport, you've got much stiffer, 8 up front, 6 in the rear. If you go work, tow, haul, you've got definitely more in the rear to account for any tongue weight you might be towing. Then you've also got off-road, which soften things up a bit. So when you're going over trails and rocks and bumps, you don't feel it as bad. And then finally, you've got MyRIDE, which is totally customizable. So for an example, if we go to the Sport, which is basically adding the most in here, you press the set button, and you can tell my hands are dirty, right? Just finished this, haven't cleaned up yet. But if you hit set, there you go. The compressor pumps the line, and basically what happens is, just so you guys know, since the compressor only has one line, it feeds into the control module, and the control module then distributes that pressure front and rear so that it can control what's in the front and what's in the rear. And it's pretty cool. You can just change it on the fly. If you want to go to work, tow, haul, you can hear it. And what's really cool is that control module will also bleed out any excess. So if you go to off-road, which should be a little lower, you'll hear it bleed. Pretty cool setup, man. Go all the way down to MyRIDE again, it'll bleed some more. Okay, now that's all the way down, and you'll notice that the MyRIDE is solid. So what's cool about this too is you can hit set, and it'll let you control the front and rear independent, right? So just for demonstration purposes, if I want to crank both of them up all the way up to 9, when you hit set again, you'll notice MyRIDE will blink, and when it's done blinking, that means it's achieved the desired pressure. So if we go to 9, hit set, and there you go. It's solid, so you're ready to roll. I love this thing, guys. I mean, it's, somewhat of a novelty, you know, if you will, but I do think it's going to be awesome for the road, you know. And the whole reason I went with the Rancho RS 9000 XLs was for the adjustability factor. And what was on these shocks, you guys don't already know, is this little device right here. So this is what came off of the Rancho shocks, and you can tell, I don't know if this will focus, but you can tell it's got different numbered settings. And basically all that does is just have this pin push out and, you know, apply different levels of pressure against the shock, which, you know, I mean, come on guys. I mean, nobody's going to be crawling under a vehicle every time you go on the trail and every time you get on the highway and every time you need to tow a trailer. You know, and when I bought the original Rancho shocks, I just assumed the MyRIDE system was available. And unfortunately, I learned after doing the whole lift kit to the Wrangler that apparently Rancho had discontinued the MyRIDE system. You know, I even contacted Rancho, Twitter, you know, a couple other means of communication, and, you know, they didn't have any spares sitting on the shelf. You know, there wasn't any used. So basically, I just put a saved eBay search and, you know, just set it and forget it. And about 6 months later, sure enough, somebody was selling a brand new MyRIDE system on eBay that was new, never installed. So lucked up, guys, and installed this thing. Hopefully the seals will hold up. You know, I don't know if that's why it was discontinued, because essentially the seals for the vacuum line, if you can tell, are literally just push to seal, and it's like you push it in and it clicks, so it makes a seal on the line. I would have to assume that these shocks aren't under a lot of pressure. You know, if they were, clearly you'd probably have vacuum lines with clamps and other things, but the push to seal was incredibly simple to install. I mean, literally you just pushed it in and you're good, you know, move on to the next shock. And, you know, hopefully after, you know, a few miles and, you know, a few rides on the trails, you know, this will hold up and won't start leaking. You know, some of the reviews that I've heard say that, you know, you almost have to put the controller on switched relay, right, against your fuses. So when the vehicle's completely off, the thing's not constantly sitting there trying to keep pressure on the shocks because it's bleeding, you know, some vacuum pressure somewhere else. So far, so good. You know, I installed it. I was, you know, going to go through and check all the seals, but I haven't heard this thing kick on, you know, even when I've got it set at 9 and 9, you know, and it's been installed for about an hour, and I haven't heard it randomly kick on to apply more pressure. So I'm just making the assumption that my seals are good. You know, time will tell. And if you look at the rear, I've done the same thing that I did on the front. Bear with me here. Let me lay down so I can show you guys. So you can see that I've actually, you know, left plenty of excess on the rear shock, you know, both sides obviously. So you got plenty of excess. So when you're flexing on the trail, you know, you're not going to have this thing yanked out and pinched. You know, basically you just tie the two rears together, you tie the two fronts together, you run the rear line all the way up to the front, connect it to that control module, you know, and the front one's a lot easier since it's close. Connect them up and you're good to go. So this concludes my review of the Rancho MyRIDE system. Love the thing. Very curious to see how it does on the road when you're adjusting this on the fly. I do know that with the manual controls, it does make a huge difference. You know, when you're going from a 9 down to a 1, now granted, you know, the stiffness of the springs has a lot to do with it, but the shock stiffness is huge. And when you go all the way up to 9, you can absolutely feel it, you know, in the seat. So I'm really curious to see how these presets work and where I can tweak it in, and hopefully this thing holds up for the long haul. So thanks again for watching, guys, and have a great day.